The Chicago Sky did not flinch. There was no press conference drama, no emotional farewell, no organizational hand-wringing over the decision to move one of the most recognizable names in women's basketball. Just a quiet Tuesday morning and a franchise exhaling for the first time in 2 years. A two-time All-Star, a rebounding record holder, a player whose name generated headlines every single week, was gone. And the silence with which Chicago let her go told the entire story more clearly than any official statement ever could. The surface numbers surrounding Angel Reese always looked convincing, enough to end conversations before they started. Double-doubles, all-star selections, a rebounding record that will likely stand for years. For anyone scanning a stat sheet without digging beneath it, she appeared to be exactly the kind of player a franchise builds its identity around. But the moment you move past the surface, the picture changes completely. In 2024, Reese shot 39% from the field. For a post player whose entire offensive existence was built around operating within 8 to 10 feet of the rim. Someone not being asked to create off the dribble, not being asked to pull up from the perimeter, not being asked to do anything except be productive in the areas of the floor closest to the basket. 39% is a number that should have triggered alarm bells in every film room in the league. She nudged it upward to roughly 42% in 2025, and her supporters pointed to that incremental climb as meaningful development. But 42% still told every defensive coordinator in the league exactly how to approach her. And every single one of them acted on that information every single night. Her three-point shooting sat near 18% across both seasons, not 28%, which would still be below average for a modern forward, not 22%, which would at least create a moment of hesitation for a closing defender, 18%. A number so consistently and spectacularly low that it stopped functioning as a weakness and began functioning as a strategic gift for opposing coaching staffs. Defenders could take a full step inside on every possession she touched from distance, pack the paint, collapse the driving lanes, and simply wait. She was never going to punish anyone from beyond the arc. The entire defensive calculus became straightforward the moment she caught the ball. And that reality compressed every guard on Chicago's roster night after night for 2 consecutive seasons. The rebounding record itself deserves a much more honest examination than it typically receives. A substantial portion of those record-breaking numbers came directly off her own missed shots. The sequence would repeat itself with numbing regularity. She would establish position in the post, receive the ball, go up for a contested look near the basket, miss it, and grab the rebound as it caromed back off the iron. The box score logged it as a rebound. It did not log the wasted possession. It did not log the disrupted offensive rhythm. It did not log the fact that Chicago's offense had to completely reset and rebuild from the same starting point it occupied 2 possessions earlier. 2 opportunities consumed to arrive back at square one. That pattern, replicated across an entire season, drained the life out of an offense that needed flow, spacing, and momentum to function. Meanwhile, in Indiana during that exact same stretch, Caitlin Clark was rewriting what a rookie season could look like. 62 individual records in a single year. The Indiana Fever reached the playoffs for the first time in 9 years. And the detail that separates genuinely great players from statistically productive ones was visible in every game Clark played. Every single player around her got better because of her presence on the floor. Kelsey Mitchell became a different player. Aaliyah Boston thrived in ways she had not before. Open looks materialized for players who had spent careers hunting for them because Clark pulled defenders out of the paint and found the open player at exactly the right moment before the window closed. That is what elevating a team actually looks like. Measured against that standard, the gap between what Clark was delivering in Indiana and what Reese was delivering in Chicago was not a small gap. It was a canyon. The off-court timeline made the trade not just inevitable, but necessary. On opening night of the 2025 season, before a single meaningful stretch of basketball had been played in the new year, Reese publicly alleged that she had been the victim of discrimination during the game against Indiana. The league took the claim seriously, investigated it properly, and found zero evidence to support it. The investigation concluded without substantiation of any kind. Think carefully about what that moment established as a pattern. The very first uncomfortable situation of her second professional season, and her immediate response was not to process it internally, compete through it, and let her performance on the court speak for itself. Her response was to go public, make it larger, make it louder, and pull the entire organization into a controversy before the season had found any footing at all. What followed with Courtney Vanderloot was arguably the most damaging single moment of Reese's tenure in Chicago. Vanderloot, a two-time champion and five-time All-Star who had specifically left a championship-caliber situation in New York to return to Chicago and help build something meaningful, tore her ACL during the season. While Vanderloot was doing the grinding and glamorous daily work of rehabbing a serious injury, Reese went on the record with reporters and stated that the team could not rely on Vanderloot to return at her age and that Chicago needed someone younger and more willing to compete for a title. Every player on that roster processed those words and arrived at the same conclusion simultaneously. The moment you stopped being useful to Angel Reese, you would find out through a reporter. That realization does not stay in a press conference room. It travels into every practice, every film session, every quiet moment where trust is either constructed or permanently dismantled. Chicago ultimately sent Reese to Atlanta for two late first-round picks that do not convey until 2027 and 2028. The internet declared it a robbery, but the silence from the rest of the league told the real story. 28 other franchises evaluated the full picture and stayed completely quiet. No bidding war. No competing offers, no urgency, just Atlanta and stillness. When genuine franchise cornerstones become available, front offices call before the press release drops. They offer proven veterans, protected lottery picks, young players with real upside. That is not what happened here. The market spoke with total clarity, and what it said was that every organization in the league had looked at the complete package and decided to watch from a safe distance. What? Did Chicago actually win by making this trade? They won their locker room back, and that is not a minor benefit. It is the foundation everything else gets constructed on. Every single day Reese was in that building, the front office was managing situations that had nothing to do with basketball. Now that weight is gone, and the space it leaves behind belongs entirely to Camila Cardoso, a genuinely exciting young center whose skill set fits naturally into modern offensive systems rather than fighting against them. Cardoso creates opportunities for the players around her rather than consuming them. And she will now have the room to become exactly what Chicago believed she could be from the moment they drafted her. So what happens next? Does Atlanta prove that a change of scenery genuinely transforms a player's trajectory? Or does the same pattern emerge in a new uniform with a new set of teammates absorbing the consequences? Is this the beginning of a redemption arc, or has the league already seen enough to know how the story ends? Drop your perspective in the comments below, because this is one of the most layered situations women's basketball has produced in years, and the debate is far from settled. If you want more breakdowns that go deeper than the headlines and find the real story underneath, subscribe and hit the notification bell so you are always first when the next one drops.